hit the
Hi,
chat.
I'm Mara Webster with In Creative Company, and today I'm so excited to be talking about the phenomenal third season of Somebody Somewhere. I am joined today by writer, creator, and executive producers Hannah Boss and Paul Thureen, along with actor, writer, and executive producer Bridget Everett, and cast
Yes.
members Mary Catherine Garrison, Jeff Hiller, Murray Hill, and Tim Bagley. And Hannah and Paul, I wanted to start with a question for you in terms of I love the language of this show and the fact that you've created this very specific language amongst these characters to the point where, if we hear the characters say we're having a tiny teeny, it feels familiar to us at this point in the show. And I just wanted to ask about the way that you've kind of always interwoven those little details for the characters, but also in a way to build relationships for the audience along the way as well.
That's a great question. And I think that, Hannah and I always have this like vibe of like anything we write, we don't want it to sound like a TV show, and we remove anything that sounds like a line that somebody would say. But then we've also had this time to develop this vocabulary, especially with Bridget, the teeny teenies, the and not my business, not my problem, just sort of like having cutie cutie, that we've had this sort of like time together with the three of us and Carolyn Strauss and the writers to sort of like develop our own vocabulary of the show, and then working with these incredible actors, they bring sort of their own little flair to things. I don't know. And Bridget can jump in.
Can't say that about gay people, Paul. Flair, Mara.
It's a triggering word, Paul. It's triggering.
It's been so nice working with you guys. I really love the opportunity. I really love the opportunity. It's been great. I'd hope to work
just like that, Paul's
canceled.
And I mean, for you, Bridget, how did that really help in just like creating a lot of the intimacy with your character and the relationships and kind of being able to interweave all those little details in that way throughout?
I don't know. I think they're like little cutie little nuggets that we can sort of, they're like little things that we can sort of cling to as we're going along. And I just like the very specific language of this show. It feels very conversational and getting to throw in my little spin. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's how friends talk. I mean, friends, you tend to develop your own little language of vocabulary and replay certain things. So in terms of this show being as authentic as it is, I feel like that's part of it, is that's how friends really talk to each other.
You're so right. And Hannah, I think also part of the fabric of that is the way that the show can have these really deep conversations between characters and then just flip the trajectory the next second after. There's a moment in this season after a Thanksgiving meal where you have Sam and Joel have a conversation about something really deep, and then all of a sudden it's, but we need to gossip about our friends who might be together. And so how did you make sure that it always flowed between those spaces whenever you were writing scenes?
That's a good question. I think we all sort of tend to like the juxtaposition of really funny things and then also really serious things, and you sort of never know where they come in this show. And Paul sort of mentioned this as well. Anything that sort of sounds like a TV show, we usually cut from our script, and we sort of embrace things that are sort of the quieter moments or things that are more like real life. And I feel like that does happen. Like, sure, they're having a really intense post Thanksgiving breakdown, and then it's actually more important to interrupt your conversation and talk about people that might be hooking up. Like, I feel like that's like real life. That's how your brain sort of thinks. I think that also it's sort of fun in this world. There's a lot of interrupting, just like all of us do. This show sort of exactly waiting on it. Sort of like embraces sort of the rhythm of real life and the way that people really talk.
I agree with that so much. And Mary Catherine, in playing Trisha this season, I love that she's kind of going through this journey of really wanting this forward momentum on her life and trying to figure out what it looks like. And there's moments where it feels so great for her, and then moments where she's kind of questioning things a little bit. And so how did you want to create this journey for her?
That's a nice way of putting it.
Just like real life.
Exactly. No, it is like real life, and that's what I love about it. So how did you make sure that you created this journey for her in a way that felt like every time she moved forward, she was also still allowed to backslide a little bit at the same time?
Well, that's not me. That's just the brilliant writing. I mean, I think the gift of this job has been how easy it is to act this, because it's written. I think they've written towards all of us individually so perfectly, and they also have made these people are very real people, and so the acting of it is just half of it is just saying the words, and then sometimes you have to connect emotionally, and but the I think this journey of playing a character who was kind of a bad guy in the beginning, and then she sort of grows and changes and becomes more interesting. And I think it's what people really are. They're layered, they're complicated, they're not just one thing, they're many things, they are multitudes. And it was just the greatest honor of my life, the greatest joy, the best job I've ever had.
Don't cry, Mary Catherine.
I'm so grateful. No, I'm not crying all morning, Murray. Yeah, it was just a pure joy. It never felt like work, not for 1 second.
Yeah. And Jeff, with Joel's journey this season as well, I feel like, he starts to realize that he's having emotions about certain things. And there's that very real feeling of, I don't know why I feel this way, but I do want to try and figure it out, that I thought was so beautiful to see portrayed on screen. And so for you, kind of what was that path of going through this season with him and really just finding those little moments where maybe he doesn't expect all these emotions to come to the surface, but they keep doing so?
I mean, this is another, I'm going to give the same one as Mary Catherine, but it's true. It's really, really like mapped out quite well. And I think that it's like you said, it's like, oh, I really identify with that. I feel the same way. I'm also in therapy being like, I don't know why, but I'm in a bad mood. And we figure that out, we pull it apart. And I think the part that the only acting part is really just being like, okay, let's make it not seem like I'm reciting lines, and let's really make it seem like I'm your friend, you're my friend. We're going back and forth, and we have all of these great mileposts of emotional beats that we need to hit, and we find a way to get there together that is great because we all know each other and like each other, except for one person on this Zoom, and they know who they are.
Wait.
He knows who he is.
Tim, in terms of Brad's storyline this season, we kind of really see him and Joel kind of merging their lives together. And I think it's really sweet to watch Brad as someone who likes things to be in a specific way, really figure out how do I change this a little bit and how do I open myself up? Yes, you can put the glassware on the bottom of the dishwasher, even though that's an insane thing to do. I do agree with that. And so how did you kind of set about figuring all the little details of, here's where he's going to like move himself a little bit and change a little bit because it's so important for the person that he loves?
Well, when I read all the scripts, I saw that in this season, I could see that Brad has a hard time he kind of shoves a lot of emotions down. And so I just kind of, followed the map that they set for me. And I mean, it's really right there in the writing. But I did kind of see what was going on with his journey and how it's hard for him to sometimes just, be, because he's maybe has some control issues.
And Murray, in terms of Fred, one of the things that's always so striking about Fred is just, Fred has the most amazing ability to uplift everybody. It's not, oh, they beat me in a competition. They gave me the gift of letting me lose. But it also feels, I was curious if you also viewed it a little bit.
Where this is going.
I was curious if you viewed part of that characteristic and trait in Fred being a little bit of, I know what it's like to not feel great in the world, and I really want to make sure that nobody else has that experience and has those moments.
Well, I mean, that's basically the title of my memoir. I would probably be safe to say that that kind of philosophy is rubbed off on Bridget a little bit, and Paul and Hannah, so that has kind of leaked into, not to use that word leaked, because that means different things.
Triggered.
It's never a good word to use.
You specifically, Bridget, but I was leaked. Sorry. Jeff and I are wearing Depends. So I mean, Tim and I. Sorry. Jeff's still in his 40s. Anyway, what was the question?
Just the way that Fred kind of really tries to uplift everybody because of, knowing exactly what it's like when you don't feel great about yourself, and the importance in always making sure that other people don't have those moments.
I did remember the question, but you went with it. So thank you. I didn't mean to do that. But I try to uplift these painful Zoom calls too. So, you know, that really is my. That's you're picking up on how I live my life. So I think, when people say these characters are real and it feels authentic and all that stuff, I think what we've been able to do is each of us have been able to kind of transfer or portray our true essence as people into these characters. So I think when people say realness and authenticity, it's everybody's heart in the show, I feel like, comes through. And that's very individual. So it, it's like, so our hearts all right here come through our characters' lenses, and then we're all each other's chosen family in this. So I think that's chef's kiss. And it's a good way to live, because a lot of gay people or trans people that are portrayed on TV, they were treated bad, so they continue to be treated bad on TV. So on this show, we just get to be like everybody else.
No, I love what you just said about chosen family as well, because it feels like that's such a prominent thing in the show. And Hannah and Paul, I wanted to ask you about the decision to have like a Thanksgiving episode, because I feel like that episode really encapsulates, these are the people that all of these characters have chosen as their family in this moment and who they want to celebrate this holiday with. And I thought it was such a great episode in this season.
I think it's been a dream of ours to have a Thanksgiving episode. We had talked about it for a couple of years, and it landed so perfectly with how things were sort of unfolding on everybody's journeys. And I thought it was so interesting to see Trisha and Sam, now that their parents have moved away and they're stuck with the farm, just like many people our age, parents are getting older. It's chosen family first these days. And it really unfolded organically, like a lot of storylines. I know I often have a Thanksgiving with friends, and so many things came out of it that really aligned really well with what every character was sort of going through. I'm trying not to spoil things. That's how I sounded. So, Ray. The point is, we've been really dreaming on it for a while, and it's I think it's going to play Thanksgiving week too, which is just.
Oh, that's neat.
I think there's also like holidays sometimes end up being like a marker of time. And when you think about things, you sort of connect them to that. And I love that also like this family has that together. And it's not easy. And there's sort of challenges that come from it and uncomfortable moments that you get with your families as well as with your chosen family. But I just love that episode and so how all these amazing people brought it to life.
Yeah.
I also love like on the way there in the car, like Trisha's like, Thanksgiving is supposed to be about family. The holidays is about family, and Sam's like,
"What am I?"
Like,
Yeah,
Trisha's just so like, it just cracks me up every time.
Bridget and Tim, I also wanted to ask both of you about one of the moments that I think is really beautiful in terms of, a friend and her best friend's partner kind of really forming this coalition with each other, in the fact that the two of them come together to write a song so that Brad can express how he feels about Joel, and just really kind of sitting there in that moment and filming that scene together where they're at the piano kind of coming up with what is this going to look like, and all the communication that's happening in between the lines at that point as well for them.
I know that, like, to me, Brad sees the value in the relationship between Joel and Sam and really wants Sam to like him. And this is, he reaches out to her and I just remember when we were shooting it, looking at her face and the way that she was looking at me, just, it was so beautiful and honest, and it really is the thing I think that kind of bonds them. And I don't know, it's really easy to play a scene like that when you've got somebody looking at you that way. It's
Well,
it's beautiful. Yeah.
it was a really special, I think, a definite season highlight, that moment, that song, and the room was really transformed by Tim's singing of the song. It was so moving, and I wrote it, the song, just saying that because I wanted it to mean something to Tim. And there's something in there from a conversation that we had that I think makes the song very special for uh, meaningful. So I think that that added an extra layer for me as a performer and as a friend watching Tim sing it. It was just a real special, something I'll never forget.
Me too.
And what was that experience for you, Jeff, in kind of playing the other side of it when they perform it for him in a room full of friends? Because, you know, it starts out, my best friend is kind of lifting up and singing when my boyfriend can't get the words out. And then he kind of musters it and manages to get it out for him. And it was such a beautiful performance to watch you on the other side of that scene as well.
Well, it was really just, it's not how I planned to play it, but Tim brought this like truly, I mean, I'm not just trying to blow smoke here. Like that was just such a beautiful, when I read it on the page, I was like, oh, he gets scared and he can't sing. But then what he played it was, I'm overwhelmed. I cannot possibly go on because I'm feeling so many things. And um I could cry just thinking about it right now because he played it with such tenderness and such beauty and such vulnerability, just gaping vulnerability that I just really reacted.
There's a thing also that Brad, the character is named after my brother Brad. Well, at least that's what I think. I don't know if it's true, but when my brother got up to speak at his daughter's wedding, you know, to give his toast, he's like, I just want to like, it's such a Midwestern thing, I think, because you don't have the outlet of so much therapy and whatever. It's just like when you do try to get something, it's like, so when Tim has that when Brad has that particular moment, it is, to me, it rings so true of the Midwestern sort of emotional spirit, and I just love it. It's beautiful. Anyway,
I wish you could see like the crew and everybody just take after take, just
All in.
destroyed by it, and
Yeah.
Rob, the director, it was just so beautiful. And then I also just love what it meant for, you know, Sam's journey, her being able to be there for a friend in that way. I think it's just the two of them together are just amazing. And then everybody watching and sort of witnessing that moment, I think is a really special part of the whole series.
Yeah, and Paul, Hannah, and Bridget, I wanted to, you know, without giving spoilers away for the last episode, I just wanted to ask about how you kind of figured out the dynamic of where you wanted to leave audiences with the show at the end of this season. You know, because again, it's not giving spoilers, but you bring all these characters together, and I thought that was the perfect choice to have all of them in a room together. And so when you sat down to write this season, how did you figure out what you felt like was the right end point for each of them?
We've gone into every season, you know, thinking it would be our last. So I feel like we've always wanted to we always wanted to do our best at every episode, and we always wanted to do our best at every season finale. And we knew, without giving anything away, we knew that we wanted to gather the friends, and we knew that we wanted them to experience something together. But there's a lot of open-endedness in this season. There are things that sort of wrap up in interesting ways, but, you know, to us, we've been spending 6 years with these characters. They're very real to us. So they go on and live their lives. So we sort of chose to keep them going, keeping them on their journey, but to have like a nice moment of joy together, sort of reminiscent to the pilot in a little bit of a way without giving anything away. Yeah, there's some boxes checked, but there's also like these characters are living their lives and going on.
I also love that we're building to Sam singing in front of her friends and family, that it's like we've taken 3 years to get to this point where we see real change in her, and she's bringing her full self to this moment and able to articulate that she wants these people here and how that makes her feel, and that she's having a good day and wants to share it with these people. And it's not her singing in front of 20 people or 50 people. It's her specifically choosing to sing in front of these people, and that she is sort of being able to be her true self in this special way, and that she's doing it with Joel on her side, I think is really important, because I think for us, sort of that this particular family, Sam's journey with like self-worth through the vocabulary of music, and then also just this partnership as sort of like the central love story, and being able to end with that really means a lot. And then just,
and this is a show that's
stepping
like a
aside.
celebration. It's a celebration of friendship, and that's
It
sort
just-
of where we take a moment.
Stepping aside, when we wrote that, we didn't know that that was going to be the end of the series. We knew that it was going to be the end of the season. But I will say that that scene we shot near the end, and just feeling the love and support of the crew there with Bridget, and that performance was a real special moment.
Yeah, it's a gift to be able to be in a room and have Bridget sing for us.
And I'll add to that. It's also a gift to be motorboated, but I don't want to say too much.
You did. That was too
Agree.
much. That's the spoiler.
That was the spoiler.
Yes.
The whole season's been given away. Did you always know that Brad was the right character for Sam to motorboat in that
Is he
musical number?
motorboated? Yes.
I think whenever it comes to singing a song, you put the players where they're going to be and see what happens. That's what I like to. I just like to let it rip.
Well, the song
Pun
choice
intended.
the song choices was Bridget's, and a lot of that moment, and the building of that moment, and that decision was Bridget's. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a perfect song choice. It rivals Gloria in season 2 as an ending, and I genuinely cried a little bit at the end of the show, just kind of with everything that you've created over these 3 seasons. It's so beautiful. So thank you so much for giving us this show, and thank you so much for talking about it. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
What are you leaving?
Tell your friends.